Hi, my name is Laurel Lewis, and I am so happy to be a part of the Entheos Academy Club and beautiful list of teachers that are offering amazing content and what they're passionate and lit up about. I've been enjoying some of the classes myself recently, and I was noticing that what I'll be speaking about today isn't really highlighted so much, not only on Entheos, but really anywhere in any kind of educational topic, because it is about death and dying. And a lot of people don't want to talk about death and dying. So that's why I'm here, because that's something that I specialize in. And to tell you a little bit more personally about me, I was married quite young. I grew up in the state of Mississippi and met a beautiful military man when I was 21, got married at 23, and we moved to Nevada. He went off on a nighttime training mission in his helicopter September 3rd, 1998, and I went to bed married and woke up a widow, which shifted my entire perspective of life and death and the trajectory of my nursing career, which I'd been a part of since 1994, and specialized from that point on in hospice care, end-of-life care. So I come to you today to talk about and bring light and grace and hopefully impart some wisdom around the topics of death and dying so that you can become more open, more relaxed, more peaceful, more intrigued, more excited about not only what could happen at that time, but how when we talk about death, it sort of loosens up the fear and tension around it and allows creative flow and juice and energy to come through us for living our now moments. So my intention here today with you is to impart some of the big lessons that we can learn about death and dying and how we can incorporate them into our daily lives to live more fully in the now. And so I want to get right into the top 10 big ideas. And number one is that death offers us a new perspective. And what happened to me when I woke up at the age of 27, widowed, my entire life had changed. And it's almost as if death had given me a new pair of glasses through which to see the world. Like the lens through which I saw things was completely different than it ever had been before. And it took me a while to really appreciate this particular lesson, but it has been the most tremendous and most impactful gift that death has given to me. And it really helps me understand how to prioritize my life and where am I spending my time and how am I spending that time. You know, it's really allowed me to become more gracious, more patient, more compassionate, and helps me put things in perspective. And I live in LA, so it's like, do I allow the traffic to really get to me, or can I just take a deep breath and allow it to be exactly what it is, and to understand that this too shall pass, that, you know, my entire day doesn't have to be turned upside down because I'm running 10 minutes late in a LA traffic jam. You know, the same with being in line at a bank and having 15 people ahead of me and knowing that I'm going to be late to another meeting. Having that perspective that everything is relative really has allowed me to be still and to come into some center and some focus wherever I am, whether I'm in line or whether I'm in traffic or whether I'm just impatient to sort of get to the next thing. So death has been a great teacher to help me understand where and how I want to spend my days and what I'm doing with the quality of the time that I'm spending. The big idea, number two, death brings us fully into the present moment. And it's true, what matters most is what's happening right now. For me right now, what's happening is showing this information to the best of my ability. So I feel excited and I have a lot of energy moving in my body. And it's nice to honor that and to be aware of that and how that translates with death and dying, or you and life and living, which to me is sort of opposite sides of the same coin, is that we can bring this quality of You know, they say carpe diem, seize the day, and take full advantage. And a lot of the teachers will offer that. And I think, whoa, that's kind of intense. I mean, that's a lot of, if I have to be living like it's the last day every day of my life, I think that could be a bit tiring. But in a more reasonable way, in dealing with the present moment, I found just to bring simple awareness to what is happening, to bring myself to what is happening. Not so much that I have to be, wow, I'm living today, but it's like, oh, I'm living right now, and what is it that's happening right now? And can I bring myself fully into this moment? Can I feel my feelings? Can I understand what I'm thinking? Can I even feel and be in touch with my body right now? Let that inform me of how I want to behave. That's being present. And what I also want to impart is that at the deathbed, and this could be at the sick bed, you know, we don't have to necessarily talk so much about death and dying, although it is the capsule and the container for this class. But to bring yourself, to bring your presence to whatever it is that's happening is so invaluable. To be open-hearted and to show up and to offer your presence to anyone is going to create intimacy and connectivity. And that's a beautiful gift to give. Big idea number 3. Death demands that we learn to let go. Whoa. Death essentially strips away all non-essentials. So I've seen this on the deathbed, where I walk in and can be in the living room of a patient's home and see just the basics of life unfolding right in front of me, which could be comfort, or could be food, or could be even the lighting in the room, really simple, basic things that death strips us away and gives us the opportunity to let go of anything that's not important to us, anything that doesn't matter. So with this idea, it's time to take an assessment of what is happening in your life, and for you to really empower yourself to make some choices about what is in your life. Are you happy about that, or is that like, and decide to start to let some of these excess things go. I mean, we don't necessarily need to be building so much. I mean, we understand that at the deathbed, accruing all of those superficial things may not give us what we really want, the sense of satisfaction that's like deep inside our heart. But it's such a great opportunity, again, to take assessment of the quality of things that you're experiencing in your life, events, people, relationships, and be courageous. And if it's not serving you or suiting you, let it go. I was talking to my friend the other day, and she said, you know, how do I let go? And you know, the answer is in the question. It's letting go of the how, and simply, you know, just releasing your grip. You know, just opening up, and whatever is meant to fall away can fall away. So that was the big idea number 3. Death is teaching us how to let go. The big idea number 4, death teaches us the value of forgiveness. And death can highlight things that have never been shared before, or never been revealed before. I took care of an amazing man named Cheyenne about 1.5 years ago. He was 47 years old and had Lou Gehrig's disease. It's also called ALS. By the time I met him, he was very physically debilitated, bedbound, and didn't have the use of his voice anymore, and communicated through using his eyes on a computer screen, which was amazing. And we had this beautiful nursing relationship for about 8 months until the time of his death. And what happened in that period of time, and why I'm mentioning forgiveness, is because he got reunited with not one of his sons, but 2 of his sons at his deathbed. And it was a beautiful opportunity for reconciliation and redemption and forgiveness and coming together. And it was very challenging for all of them, but they were courageous enough to risk being open and being vulnerable, and to ask one another for forgiveness, to release some of the shame and the regrets and the confusion that they had had, in particular my patient, with the choices that he had made in his life. And so the deathbed gives us this very rich and kind of intense opportunity to do this, but we don't have to wait until we're dying to really take advantage of any threads inside of us that need to be addressed related to forgiveness. There is true freedom in forgiveness. I'm looking down to see these beautiful quotes that I have written. This wonderful woman, Elizabeth Prophet, writes, "Learn to forgive yourself for error and learn to accept the love your heart craves." It's releasing judgments, it's releasing criticisms, not only of other, but of yourself. And when we do that, when we release the need to hold on to the judgments and that which keeps us separated, we experience a greater capacity to let the life force move through us. So I encourage you not to wait to forgive another, but to really take advantage, pick up the phone, write a letter, let it go. The big idea number 5, death reveals our interconnectedness. And although death is completely unique for each of us, we can see through the deathbed just how connected we are. And we see how we may speak to somebody and years later they come back to us and share with us, "Do you remember when we were talking, that story you told me, it changed my life," or "That book that you gave me was so impactful, it took me on a whole nother course." We must believe that the actions that we take do have some impact, even though we may not exactly know what that impact is or how far or how deep and meaningful it is to another. But we are all interconnected in this amazing web of life. And what I have found is that at the end, in the deathbed experience, that the character of the web that you have woven is revealed to you. So it can be so important to really invest time and energy into things that help you have a stronger sense of belonging. And that could be belonging to yourself, it could be belonging to nature, to art, to God, to spirit, to the universe, to your ideals, to really start weaving your own self into the available web that is in this life, so that when the time comes for you to separate, to depart, that you can see the beautiful interconnectedness and see the beauty of the web that you have woven, and to know that it's perfect. It's perfect, and that your time was perfectly well spent in weaving this beautiful web that's uniquely yours, and yet somehow beautifully connected to all of the people that you have touched. And something else I want to say about that is a loneliness, a sense of isolation can be remedied just from remembering this one big idea. That could be a nugget for you to consider or think about. Big idea number 6. Death says, now is the time to express yourself. The deathbed gives us permission that is already available. So I think we should take advantage of that. I wonder what would happen if I were to tell you that you had a prognosis, of a month to live or 7 days to live, or even somehow I knew that you were going to pass tomorrow. What would you do? And I want to ask you, have you unleashed your gifts on the world? Have you offered yourself fully to your friends and your family and your loved ones? Have you opened yourself up and shared yourself in this beautiful life that you are living? Or have you been hesitant? Have you been waiting? Are you holding back? And why are you holding back? I see from the patients that I work with lives that have been expressed and lives that have been unexpressed. And there is a sadness and a woe and a sense of regret about people that are on their deathbed that didn't quite give it what they wanted to give it for whatever reasons, various reasons. But I want to say, find the support that you need to share yourself in the world, because it's so well worth it. And we want to see you. We want to be with you. We want to feel you. We want to know you. There's something so unique and special about you that is unlike anyone else in the world. And I don't want you to die with that gift living inside of you. So this is an invitation to really shine and to show yourself in a way that feels very special and unique to you. But this is your precious life, and I think you should take full advantage of it and let us see you. Big idea number 7. Death encourages us to be flexible, adaptable, and willing to change. This is a hard one. You know, what is your relationship to change? You know, a lot of people are set in their ways. I think about, you know, the idea of my parents comes racing forward in my mind, or a certain generation that can be a bit stubborn. And I can tell you that if you're stubborn in life, then more than likely you're going to be stubborn in death and stubborn on your deathbed. If you are a victim of your life, then you will be a victim of your death, you know, and the opposite is true, that if you are open and resilient and flexible, then when the time comes and the physician says to you, you know, maybe time for hospice, prognosis is not looking good, we've done all we can, then you will be the type of personality to really work with what is available, which is acceptance, getting your affairs in order, spending quality time with your friends and family. But it's so fascinating to me to even talk to you about this idea of being flexible and how death can really highlight that if you are not flexible and you're given news that is tragic or you would rather not hear, that you're more than likely to kind of freak out a little bit. And that may be okay when you're younger, but now you're older and you have an evolved consciousness and you can make choices about how you want to respond and how you want to relate to people. So it's really about taking assessment of how you do relate to the issue of change. And if you want to experience a more fluid life, then try to figure out where you may get stuck in your mind, where the blocks are, where you're feeling resistant, and take a good look at that and work around that. And maybe try some practices that will help you become more flexible. You know, yoga is an amazing tool that you can utilize to be not only flexible in your body, but flexible in your mind. Meditation is one of those tools. Creative writing is one of those tools. Take advantage of these simple practices so that you can become more flexible in your day-to-day life. Big idea number 8. Death teaches us that kindness and compassion are the true currency of life. And I want to say that some of the most valuable exchanges that I've ever witnessed have been at the deathbed. I have seen deathbed experiences that involve very rich and exquisite background, meaning affluent families and homes. And I've also experienced being at the deathbed in a home of somebody that didn't have running water. You know, so I've experienced death in ways that were very physically comfortable and uncomfortable. And I'm getting back to the point of the value of the currency, because some of the most beautiful deaths that I've seen have been surrounded by kindness and really simple gestures of stroking somebody's hair or touching somebody's foot or singing a song to somebody at the deathbed that the loved one knew would help them feel safe and comfortable and supported. You know, we do or we don't have money, and that will be what it is, but the true currency and how we can really be connected to one another is through gestures of kindness and compassion, presence. Those are the things that really allow us to feel connected and intimate and they don't cost anything, which I think is amazing. It's just about your willingness to share and to be connected and to offer yourself in that particular way. I also want to make a reference here to a friend of mine, because some people may be like, well, I think I'm a pretty kind and compassionate person, but I'm not sure. I have a friend who started a blog called If I Were My Own Best Friend, and it's a really interesting journey, her journey of how to cultivate that a healthier inner relationship, and to maybe quiet down the inner critic and really start cultivating the relationship of kindness inside of your own head. So if you can do that, then you're more apt to do that out in the world. And so I wanted to just offer that as a resource, because it's been very inspirational to me. And big idea number 9. Death gives us a chance to learn about who we truly are. Death strips you down to reveal what was there all along. And again, I go back into my mind of walking into patients' homes and seeing what might be their true character revealed, and thinking about how that makes them feel exposed and raw and open, and seeing that they have dropped this mask, that often we wear in the world of, professional Laurel or widow Laurel or friend Laurel or daughter Laurel, and that wearing these masks can really take a lot of energy. It takes a lot of energy to hold these masks close to our face, to present ourselves a certain way in the world. What I've seen when I go into these patients' homes and on the deathbed is that they don't have any energy anymore to wear their mask, and so they're fully exposed and fully revealed, and I get to see their true nature. And it's been some of the most beautiful, intimate, privileged time that I've ever spent, is being at the deathbed and looking into somebody's face and really seeing the truth of who they are, separate from all of the identities that they may have worn throughout the history of their life. And what I want to impart to you is that it's possible without having to be on the deathbed. All of these things are possible without having to experience death and dying. That's the beauty of what I'm trying to translate to you today. The big picture of this conversation is that death is here to teach us. Death is sort of on our shoulder for our entire life, not necessarily to frighten us or to berate us or to say, I'm going to come and get you, as a reminder to live fully in your life, to really fully engage in your life, to be who you are, to express what you want. And this big idea is about that. It's about learning who you are, investigating, spending time. If you notice that you have anger or hurt, upset, or rage in there, to take a pause and to address it, to give those parts of you the attention that they need, so that then you can be more fully integrated and go back out into the world. It's available for you right now. You don't have to wait for anything. Big idea number 10. Death wants us to get practical about living and dying. Death wants to teach us. Death doesn't necessarily want to take anything from us. Again, it's really thinking about what is your relationship to death. And if that elicits fear or concern, then sit with it. Be curious about that. Death is available as the ultimate teacher. And there are a list of things to do that I wanted to share, with this big idea of death being a practical adventure. And it's to spend time in nature, what I call the other ultimate teacher, to be with the trees or the flowers or the grass or the birds or the sand, to really absorb some of the lessons that nature can teach us. We see a lot of the life and death cycle in nature, and I think we can bear witness to that and take in some of those lessons deeply and wholeheartedly. And I think they can also encourage us to live more fully and more excited lives. Allow yourself some quiet time every day. We're going to be pretty quiet when we're dead, but until then, just emulating a 5 or 10 minute silent meditation, and just to be an open vessel and hear what might come in, can be very practical as means to sort of clear the mind and to allow for inspiration to come through. Giving yourself that, just 5 minutes every day, can be quite meaningful. It's not so much about the amount of time you're meditating, it's really about being consistent with the practice. Spend time in joy. I have this joy list, sort of like a bucket list, but it's a list of things that light me up, which could be ice skating or going to a matinee or going to a nice dinner or talking to one of my nephews. But I have a list of things that bring me joy, and some are short-term goals, some are long-term joy goals, and I look at it and I think, okay, what do I want to be up to this weekend, or what do I want to be up to today? And I look at my joy list and allow myself that and give myself permission to do that. I have another tip, write your own eulogy. I did this with a group of people about a year and a half ago, and it was very meaningful. We actually had them write their eulogy, and then we got up and shared with one another the eulogies. It was a great opportunity for them to think about looking back on their lives and thinking about, had they been doing what they wanted to be doing? Were the people in their lives the people they wanted to be in their lives? Write your eulogy from the viewpoint of a 90, 95-year-old version of yourself, and really think about what you want to contribute. Think about the people that will be around you on your deathbed. Think about your habits and think about, are those serving you, or do some of those things need to be let go of, like we were talking about with the other big idea. Writing a eulogy can really help you take a full assessment of what you're up to, and if you need to trim it up, trim the fat, then that's a good opportunity to see where you might let some of that go. And I also wanted to talk with you about asking about your relationship to some of these other ideas as part of this getting practical and this big idea number 10. To ask you to think about, what is your relationship to the medical profession? What is your relationship to advanced directives? What is your relationship to Western technology? Think about what you might do if you found yourself in the hospital system with no voice. Have you even considered a living will? Have you considered who you would like to be your voice to speak for you if you didn't have your own? And also to think about your relationship with hospice and palliative care, to think about the options that are available at end of life, not only for you, but also for your friends and family who may need to elicit those services in the near future. So I want to just wrap it up and say thank you for even considering some of these ideas around death and dying, because I know it's not necessarily a comfortable topic, but I do know that it is the one thing that we all share, that we all have in common, and that if we can ease any of the tensions or fears or worries around not only our death, but those of our loved ones, that it will help us feel more expansive and free to be living a more excited and engaged life. So I want to say thank you for being a part of this class at the Entheos Academy. Thank you for your time and for your availability, for your presence, and we'll see you later.